Let's not make this official, Outlander. Move along.
Welcome back, Legier, and welcome to Vardenfell, a large island on the northeastern corner of Tamriel. And behold the xenophobic and gray-skinned Dunmer people that call this place their home. The environment these dark elves live in is very alien and considered inhospitable to the other races of Tamriel due to its horrible bug and dinosaur wildlife, overabundance of native butch lesbians, unpalatable foods, the resident ash vampire iconoclast who threatens outsiders with plague, and the living god Hermaphrodite, who keeps a meteor held above the heads of its residents as a fear tactic to keep them in line. Because of current occupation by a Roman-esque empire from the province of Cyrodiil, many staples of Morrowind's beautiful culture are being repressed, such as legal slavery, legal murder, legal political assassination, and tax-free alcohol. Mazte is now heavily taxed by the Empire, who at the time of Morrowind's story is controlled by Patrick Stewart.
Let me see your face.
Because there is no fun allowed under Empire rule, the Dunmer tribe of the Kamonatong has turned to smuggling their farm tools and booze to other parts of Morrowind, and likely offshore to other parts of Tamriel. Good God, there's a lot of Mazte recipes. 16 in total, in fact. You may notice that they all contain rice. It could be assumed that this beverage's real-world counterpart would be sake, though the stuff is treated more like a beer in the context of the Elder Scrolls world. Also, only in Morrowind, they use salt rice to create this stuff, rather than ESO's regular rice. Salt rice farms and plantations in Morrowind are mostly found in the Ascadian Isles. Wild salt rice can also be found in the Graze Lands and on Azura's coast. The beverage's name is also spelled incorrectly in Skyrim's Dragonborn DLC, calling it Mazte rather than Mazte. Mazte is also rather cheap compared to other beverages in Tamriel.
Excuse me, sir. How much for this?
Those are 50 cents.
Well, I won't pay full price.
Personally, I'll be making my own version of Mazte using yerba mate, lemon, and Bervez juice. But of course, Bervez is not a real thing. From what I can gather from a very reputable source, a comment on Reddit proposed that it's pomegranate molasses, judging by the coloration and viscosity. Because of how expensive it is on the ESO market, and how in history pomegranate has been depicted as dignified and decadent, I'd say that's a pretty good assumption. So I'll be using pomegranate molasses as a substitute for Bervez juice if it ever comes up in future recipes. Now let's take a look at what we'll be using here. This is my preferred cleaning chemical, PBW. If you ever use this, make sure to rinse really well. If suds form when you put your water in your container, it's not rinsed enough. Here I've got yerba mate. I'll be using 3 packets of this. Gallon carboy for later. Airlock, anyone will do. This style in particular is my personal favorite. Here's our Bervez juice. Pomegranate molasses. Stuff smells and tastes very strong. About 4 ounces of this to a gallon. 2 pounds of short grain brown rice as a substitute for salt rice. Half a lemon. First we'll start with this brown rice. We're also going to need this yeast nutrient, and we're going to take this bentonite powder to sort of mimic the ash motif that Vardenfell has. Then we're going to take some yeast. Simple enough. Dump a cup of water into a bowl and dump a packet of yeast. Then you're going to want to dump in your yeast nutrient, give it a little bit of a mix, and just let it sit for the remainder of what you're doing. Get your rice cooker. You can steam it on the stove or cook it however you want. It's up to you. Get your 2 pounds of rice and use an equal amount of water to the rice. In the meantime, I'll tell you about a little mistake I made. I stuffed all of this rice into a carboy. Don't do that. Use a bucket. Because when you have this much stuff to work with, like physical, non-liquid brewing material, you're going to want a bucket, because it's going to get stuck in the carboy. You're going to have to use a knife. You're going to sit there for an hour trying to scoop it all out. It's a nightmare. My 4 ounces of pomegranate molasses here. And the rice is done. It also doesn't taste that bad. Kind of like it. Dumped it all in here. Made a gross little mess. And I realized I don't have koji, something that they use for sake. So I'll be using about a cup of barley.
What are you trying to do?
I'm making something, bro.
Oh, let me see that.
Let it sit for about 2 weeks. And it's done. Then, I personally like using cheesecloth to filter my drinks that I make. I find it works best. It's better than coffee filters, in my opinion. And here it is, in a little carboy. Bentonite powder here to clear up the haze that it has. About a tablespoon per gallon will do. And it's done. Let's give it a taste.
Let's try this stuff then, huh? I've prepared 3 different glasses of this Mazte. And first glass I've got here is chilled, which is like, just one of 3 ways that I've made this. I'll give this one a go. I'm a little scared, I'll be honest. It's not awful. It's still got a little bit of yeast in there. Could clear up a little longer, but it tastes like apple juice almost. And I wouldn't say that in exactly a good way. It's like if you made apple juice from those apples that dry out your mouth when you take a bite out of them. It's not terrible. It's not great. I could see this being something that impoverished elves would drink on a hellscape like Vardenfell. Like, this definitely feels like something that it's like toilet wine almost, It's not a high quality drink by any means, but I could see people drinking this in a pinch. Let's try it at room temperature. This is something that I thought would, because it sits on shelves, right? Like, I wouldn't see any way of chilling a drink, but like I could see somebody like using maybe frost magic to chill it, to make it more palatable. But like, you see the bottles sitting up on shelves in houses, or in, I suppose it would be cold if you left it in a basement, so that, chilled for that reason. Let's try room temperature, see how that tastes. Not a whole lot of difference. It goes down easier if it's room temperature, it seems like. The yeast isn't really there. Maybe that it still tastes like apple juice though, like gross apple juice, but not like awful. It's okay. It's not. Again, it tastes like poor people alcohol. Let's go ahead and try this third one. Heated like they traditionally drink sake. Again, this isn't sake. This is Mazte. It's got no koji in it, or it's not prepared traditionally. But like, this is how they drink it. It's warm. I heated up the bottle the same way they do it over there. Boiled water around the bottle. Let's try it. It definitely brought out a little more the rice It tastes like brown rice and apple juice. And I think a little bit of the pomegranate molasses I can taste in there. Heating it up definitely accentuated the flavor. I think this would be my second best choice in regards to like how you would drink this. I think room temperature would probably be my go-to if I were forced to drink this. I probably won't drink the rest of this. It's not very good. It's edible, and it would do if you were trying to get drunk in a pinch, like most people in Vardenfell are. But I don't think this is very palatable. But if it's the only thing you've got and the drinking water around you is full of ash, this may or may not be your best bet. Thanks for joining me. Stick around, there's a lot more to cover.